I'ma restore the minds back so that the leg won't have to think black. Great sacrifice come with separation, and honor we trust, so we not looking for reparation. Clarity equals transition when we left the black turn right to social seeking. The internally high, the honor mind power 144,000 rise. While the black race stay in the dead state, the bright race stay alive, and you know why? Yeah, cause we came home to the most high, yes we came home to the most high, and that's all.
The bright race of reality, we are here, raising up our community, no fear. Solar power is flowing through the atmosphere. It's only right we examine and channel out of here. There's no helping the black race, they all did. Mobilizing the beast in the forehead. There's no turning us back, we focus for it. Our only focus is on it, we will never bow. Yes, we're taking this over, this is our pledge. Our only focus is on it, we are full-fledged. The bright ones never play games, power don't play. We focus on honest work, seeking the brighter day. We all give for this power, we don't look back. The ones really of almond will never fade to black. With the elected of almond, you better recognize the next order of almond is surely on the rise.
Treated ever since of the island face. Pure as the whispers of the silent face. Maneuver through this life and missing peace. Thankful for the day that Amish chose me. Powerful to lift the chance that I'm supposed to be. And my mind can forever extend constantly. I was a part of blacks and material possessions. And we connected our minds with the dark stages of oppressions. Finding this reality while focusing on what they have in store for us. When you really have the elected, there's no way you can ever be rejected. Have your mindset forward, looking backwards, no, not never again. We are the right race, staying focused, moving into the fourth dimension. Shifting in and out like a dominated cube. While seeing full spectrums of colors amaze you. As we collectively moving about, the whole world will stop and start to shout. Hell, amen, yep, yes indeed. We're moving at the speed of Amen so righteously. Marching in the bright lines, moving on one soul accord. As the righteous elect comes together once more. Reconstructing our mind, body, souls, and ethers. Preparing righteously, Lord, order, bringing in full fiery judgment. Burning away all the beastly corruptions by restoring natural law, order, and stretching the families all across the lands. We have the power key to our future plans. We are the real men and women. Our judgment will get this planet the soul to cleanse. Straight from the omnic beings. Yep, it is the ROM, is where we stand. Our lift beneath us. Yep, we are the almonds. This is our planet, and we're coming to take it.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. Back again. We live again. High and Mighty Talks, or High and Mighty Thoughts now, with me, Nuben Menkares, the intellectual Nuben Menkares. High and Mighty Thoughts with me. I'm glad to be doing this installment. It feels good. Got the Underlord merchandise on and whatnot. Premium Underlord, which you're going to see. Be prepared for that Underlord logo, the logo head. So we're going to be doing a lot of things, Underlord, She-Lord division, a lot of things coming out. look for us from this brand. You know, before I start off anything, first and foremost, in the name of Amen, the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, in Amen we trust, in Amen we think, and in Amen we continue forward forever. And with that, we're going to tackle some topics tonight. Some controversial ones and some that is near and dear to me mentally. You know, look at this. Can't forget the high. Can't forget the high. You know, I got one of my wives getting me a cup of coffee. I like to do this with a cup of coffee and everything, my water, get relaxed. Got some nice incense burning. It's comfortable day-to-day. It's so-called Easter, supposedly Easter, whatever, Easter Sunday. But as you can see, nobody really give a damn about these so-called holidays of the beast anymore, like Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and Halloween. You know, the spirit of all of those things have left the minds of the people. The people don't get hyped up about these things like they used to. Thank Amen that people are, you know, starting to look towards something higher. One of the things I want to address is my daughter. One of my daughters in the back. One of the things I want to address, one of the topics that are on the front burner is this thing of relationships. I never really talked much about relationships and my stance on me being, you know, being married to two women. I have two daughters from two women. Being in what you would call a polygamous marriage. But I don't like to use the term polygamous. We use the term merger in our community. We merge together. Me being an extended merger. Things like finances come up in the merger. And I'll say this, of all married or merged people in relationships, men and women, that the men should pay for everything. I make a stance on that men should be the breadwinners. Men should be the providers and the protectors. I said this before on my broadcast, and I stand on it today, that men should be the providers and the protectors, you know, in the relationship. They should be the ones providing for the women and the children. The women are supposed to be home raising the children. Now, I'm going to say this. If the woman is working from home and helping the man in the business, they should be doing some business together where they're partners. And then, you know, they should, you know, that's the only time the woman should be working. If she's working for the family unit, for the business, that's the only time they should be, you know, women should be working. Or if she has pursued a passion like medicine or law, something that she is very well equipped at mentally to do and, you know, follow. I'm not for, you know, taking away people's ability to, you know, accomplish things like becoming doctors or lawyers or something like that. For women who want to do that, who want to use their mind to become something greater, I'm fully in support of that. But when it comes to, you know, making money and having to sustain the family, that should be on the man. I grew up with a father and a mother. My father worked and took care of us, you know, and, you know, he, for the most part, held it down while my mother was going to nursing school. My mother became a registered nurse, but, you know, he put her through nursing school. He took care of us. He held it down while she was going and getting her education, and she became a registered nurse, and she started making a bunch of money. And to this day, my mother's still, you know, doing registered nursing. She in her 70s, but, you know, had it not been for my father working and holding it down and not trying to force her to have to work as well as pursue her passion to become a registered nurse, that might not have happened, because it takes a lot of study, it takes a lot of dedication. And, you know, my mother definitely had that and then some, to be raising 4 children and, you know, pursuing, you know, becoming a registered nurse. She had all of us already. She had all 4 of us already, and she was still doing that and still had to, make sure the house was in order and doing what she was doing. But my father was out working all the time, so he worked for the city. But men should definitely take care of the woman and the children, because the woman has to, she has a hard job of her own, just taking care of the children, making sure that they're together, making sure they're doing the right things in the house, being orderly. She has to do that. That's the job of the woman. The man should be bringing in the money. And this is why I tell a lot of you young guys, don't pursue a real relationship until you're at least 39, 40 years old. No man should be with a woman in a serious relationship until he's at least 39 or 40 years old. Because by that time, you should have had enough time to get that, that young wildness out of you. A lot of young guys, they want to screw and they want to get with this one and get with that one. They want to have their little fun, out in the world, which is nothing wrong with it. Men will be men, boys will be boys, as they say. Boys will be boys. They're going to do what they do, but they should not drag women into that situation. Young women should not be dragged into situations and relationships with young men, because those young men are still trying to find themselves. They're still trying to sow their wild oats. They're still trying to be out here doing what they do. So for a young woman, she should definitely be with an older man, a man more established. All right. Thank you. My coffee. She should definitely be with a man who's more established. Somebody who's been through things, seen things. Somebody can teach us something. It's nothing like having the worst thing to do is to have two people who don't know what they're doing. You see? And when I say older man, I said that a man should be at least 10, 15 years and better older than the woman that he's going to be with. And I'm not trying to say no real super old guy shouldn't be past a certain age. I'm not saying, ideally, what I'm saying? But, it's all based on your discretion. I ain't saying go get with Father Time, somebody who look like, they on a damn walker or cane or something like that, who in the 80s and stuff. I'm not saying that. But again, that's to your own discretion. But for a man, you should not be dealing with or being with a woman in a serious relationship, merger, marriage, or having children until he's at least 40. And like I said, a 20-year-old woman with a 40-year-old man is not bad at all. It's not bad at all. Even a man in his late 30s, 38, 39 with a 20-year-old or 19-year-old, 19-year-old woman, 20-year-old, because that's the best time for young women to be in a relationship and getting her children and whatnot, because that's the time for her to get all of that out the way, the children and whatnot. She can literally have her youth to raise her children, as opposed to being older and having to get out here and deal with a bunch of, guys who are just wasting their time. Because as soon as young women get out in the world, hell, as soon as they hit their teens, every guy trying to get in their pants. If they're moderately attractive, you got these guys just trying to get in their pants. And sometimes the young women, they fall for it. Next thing you know, they ended up with babies that, they really necessarily didn't want to, have, but they were so busy into the physical part of the physicalities of it with this individual that they told themselves this thing could work. And getting an abortion should never be an option. You see, in this society, they tell you that if you, by some chance, should make the mistake of getting pregnant, that you should seek an abortion. An abortion is should never be seen as a contraceptive, a form of contraception. It should never be seen that way. And you have to start off making smart decisions in your life. If you're a young woman who wants to be a mother and, family and things like that, you should seek out an older man who, preferably doesn't have children or a lot of children, or that family he's had is pretty much grown up and done and he wants to start over. You could do that. But he has to be financially solid or, doing things. It can't just be, oh, I'm an older guy and I'm with a young woman. So you got to watch out for them type of guys. You got guys out here who like the idea of what I'm saying, but they're not equipped to handle a young woman. They like the idea of it, the physical look of it and the sexual parts of it and things, like all the things that are not important in a union. That's nice, but that's just icing on the cake. That's not the cake. You need somebody who, you know, even what you meant, you need somebody who's mentally mature and stable for her age if she's 19 or 20 years old. And you need to be definitely mature and stable for your age at 39 or 40 years old or better so that you can take care of her. You shouldn't be struggling at 40 with a young woman. Also, you should just be by yourself until you can handle it. You got a lot of guys that jump into these situations and they can't really handle that. See, one thing that will drive a man to succeed and do greater things is when he has a woman and a family to take care of. He has people that are dependent on him. See, with young guys, they tend to fall under pressure. And again, this is no shot at all young guys, but this tend to get, you got some exceptions to the rule, but the exception does not make the rule. So you have to go with what's common. You see a lot of young guys out here, they in situations, they got baby mamas, they got females they wish they weren't dealing with, children that they got that they wish they didn't have. And they, you know, it's a burden for them to take care of these children. And it should never be a burden for you to take care of your children. Your children should never feel as though they're not wanted or they're not loved. You see, I came up in a household where we were wanted and we were loved. Not my children are the same way. We love our children. You know, we raise our children. We take care of our children. We don't, you know, we never put them in a situation whereas they never feel as though they're not wanted or that they're not welcome. And that's what it should always be when you have children. And like I said, as a father, you have to be the provider and you have to be the protector. You have to be the provider and you have to be the protector. As a man, you have to be the provider and the protector. I always say the 3 Ps: provider, protector, and predator. Now, I say predator because men are by nature predators. Men are predators. Men are predators for women. Men prey on women. Men, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want it to sound like it's a bad thing to say that, but men who are heterosexual, who are attracted to women, they naturally prey on women for a physical relationship, a mental connection. They naturally prey. This is why men go out and talk to women and go to social scenes. And women want to be hunted. Women want to be chased. Women want to be got at, as they say. You know, that's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But there should always be rules of engagement. Always. There should always be rules of engagement. There should never just be, you know, I'm doing this and whatever the case is, there's no consequence to it. Everything is a consequence. You see, everything, you know. So we have to be that way as a people. We have to be that way. By the way, when these Underlord hoodies, these premium hoodies come up on our site, on the new site, they're going to be at least, like I said, these are going for like $120. These Underlord hoodies, these are the official from the premium Underlord brand. It's a $120 hoodie. You say, or we call a hooded sweater. You know, we don't do hood stuff. It's a hooded sweater, whatever. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. All right. Let's move on. Now we're going to get to the social stuff. Let's get to the social stuff. All right. All right. Any questions, anything anybody got? Taking questions. Hold on. One second. Okay. Do we support white supremacy by calling ourselves black people? Well, I don't no longer support it because I don't refer to myself as a black man. Y'all heard in my prior and past videos that I don't refer to myself as a black man. I'm not a black man. My skin is not black, number one. And I don't feel beholden to that title of a black man. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. I don't go by what people think about me. I go by what I know about myself. I know I'm not a black man. I know my skin is not black. My skin is the copper-colored bronze that was spoken of in the 1828 Merriam-Webster Dictionary of the original people who were the Americans here. I've been trying to get everybody to get on that vibration of copper-colored people, or being those copper-colored races that were here in the Americas as the original Americans before the Caucasian Europeans came over here and tried to took our place as the Americans. That's what they did. And they basically made us black people. They faded us to black. They erased the history of the copper-colored indigenous people, the Indians, us, and just basically turned us into Negroes and blacks on paper. They basically erased us. They basically erased our culture, our heritage, and stepped up in our place. That's what they've been doing, and that's what they do. And every time you refer to yourselves as black people, every time you refer to yourselves as African Americans, Negroes, you're basically helping to support white supremacy, because white supremacy, their main goal is to erase the American indigenous people of this land, the bronze copper colored people. Why are y'all not looking at the 1828 definition of American to tell our story? Look at the 1828 definition of American. That tells you everything of who we are. The copper colored races, the Aboriginals who were found here by Europeans, the original Americans who were found here by the Europeans who now call themselves American, who took on that name. In other words, the Indian removal acts, that was about taking land from our people. Because see, when you hear the word Indian, you automatically think Native American or these Mongoloid Indians. I told y'all have to stop thinking like that. The real Indians who had the land taken away from them that we were working on, that we were harvesting and growing on, and that we were living on, it was taken from us by this European government that set itself here in the Americas and referred to themselves as the United States or the United Colonies. And they gave our land to Europeans, to white people that was coming over here. We were on these lands first. In Mississippi and all these places where all that racism goes on, that our people were heavy in the South in those areas, working and growing cotton and farming and harvesting cotton and all the staple resources that this country had, came up off and made millions off of, and off of our labor. We were doing this first, and people came and basically pushed us to the side and started calling us Negroes and because they wanted to erase the whole Indian thing. They wanted to erase the whole copper-colored Indian thing. They wanted it was too many of us to kill. So they just was like, oh, well, we're just going to, in our law, we're just going to go ahead and erase them on paper and make them somebody else. We're going to make them African Americans, which is why I say I cringe when I hear our people making reference to themselves as African American. We have nothing to do with Africa. Absolutely nothing. Nobody came over from Africa. That's a lie. That is a lie. And well, let me say, it's a small number of people that did come over. Like I said, it's not enough to be significant to call us African American. It's really not enough. The mass majority of so-called black people, bronze, copper colored people, are already here in the Americas. And that's before because you had black people, so-called black people, copper colored people that came from Europe. They came, it wasn't just white people coming from Europe and England. It was so-called black people coming from Europe and England as well. They came from Europe and England as well into America, and they set up and they had land here in America. That you can look that up. It was so-called black Europeans who came here as well. So some of our ancestry is black European. We got some European so-called black people in our family, but most of the majority of it is the indigenous or American indigenous people that were here. Going back to the Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan. I told you the Mayans were the first people that set up shop here in America. They're the first civilization here, and we are the descendants of the Mayans. I already showed my Mayan image and whatnot. I already know what my Mayan ancestry, my Mesoamerican ancestry is. It has nothing to do with Africa. So these people who are calling us black, these people who are calling us African Americans, these people who are calling us Negroes, stop dealing with these people. They're working for the government. They're working against us. Because this society wants to keep on continuously burying us, and making us black was a way of burying who we really are. All right. Let me sip some of my coffee. All right. Next topic. Yeah, so we need to stop keeping white supremacy alive. And the biggest way to kill white supremacy is by stop calling ourselves black people. Please stop calling yourselves black people. I've been making this plea to our people. And I go for you Moors too, because you guys love to say, oh, don't call yourself a black person, you a Moor. That means black too, man. You guys y'all can't seem to get out of the black zone. Our people can't seem to get out the damn black zone for some reason, the two-dimensional black zone. This is why you're going to keep going back and forth with these so-called whites, these Caucasians, about black and white. Y'all going back and forth. The back and forth should stop by this time. all that energy is being exhausted on foolishness and nonsense that don't even need to be revisited. We need to move forward. And then I'm going to say this. You got a better claim, you so-called people that are claiming for reparations, you got a better claim using that 1828 Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of the copper-colored races who were here in America found by the Europeans. You got a better claim of that and getting reparations than getting a claim for black people in African slavery, because that didn't even really happen like that. So you better off pointing to that when you come to your reparations, even though they ain't trying to give you no reparations. But we'll get into that another time. I might even address that briefly. Yeah, matter of fact, I am. You see. Is white supremacy really a form of childish behavior? Yeah, it is. All forms of people who are sitting here, again, it's one thing to think of yourself as supreme. That's fine. Supremacy moves in silence. Supremacy moves by action. Supremacy don't have to move by trying to take from other people, trying to always fight against other people. See, true supremacy moves on its own. It moves in silence on its own and builds up itself. If you have to constantly be going back and forth with people, black against white, white against black, in order to exert what you call white supremacy, then it's not supreme at all. I said this before. I said this. How the hell can you believe in something called white supremacy and call America a white country? How do you call it that when there was already people here? It was black, millions of so-called black people here before y'all came here. Y'all got that right in your Merriam-Webster dictionary. So how is this a white man's country? How is this Caucasian country? How are you going to call this white people's country when there's millions of black people here that was already here and still deep down outnumber y'all? Have always outnumbered you. You see? But you had to declare certain people white. All white people are not Caucasians. But the whole idea of trying to be supreme and using people to be black versus white, that's real childish, man. If you really are a supreme person or a supreme people, then let your works show. Don't let you trying to stop other people, trying to stand in the way of other people, trying to deny other people of resources and things like that. Don't try to do that to try to exert what you call supremacy. That's not supremacy at all. It just comes off as childish behavior, childish, immature, silly behavior, that of a hater, that of people who are on some hatred type of thing. Again, make your focus about you and your life going forward, not about trying to be combative toward other people. That's childish. Right. Why do black people refer to their beliefs as science? I'm going to want to cover this. I was going to make a broadcast topic out of this, but I'm going to just go ahead and do that. I notice with a lot of you people, the 5%ers, the Moorish science people, y'all always make reference to what y'all teaching as a science rather than just what it is, a damn belief. Let me tell you something. You're not, you do that. You make reference to your belief system as a science. You're trying to give it validity because you're taught by Caucasians that science somehow gives, using the term science somehow gives validity to something, makes it more solidified when you say it's a science, rather than what it really is, which is a belief. Moorish science, the 5% call they teach a science, the science of this. There's no science to what y'all teach. It's all belief and doctrine. It's all belief and doctrine. Stuff that was made up, stuff that was taken. There's no science behind that. Please stop using the term science, because all you're trying to do is confuse people, you see, and you're using the terminologies of Caucasians to try and put some validity behind what you teach when it really has no validity at all. It's just y'all just saying stuff. A lot of you guys that's claiming y'all deep in some science, y'all just saying stuff, man. That's all. It don't really mean nothing in the real world. It doesn't really even mean nothing in your world, because in your world, y'all pretty much in the same position you in as black people. You see, what we teach through MENTELLECT, this is about an evolution of the mind of a people. This is about the evolution of people's minds and the growth of people's minds. We're not selling our people any dogma and any doctrine and any belief system. We are extending our people's intelligence about the reality of who they are. That's not what y'all doing. Y'all coming with some totally made up a dogma, just like Christianity, just like Islam, just anything you just snatching off the wall and trying to attribute it to you. And again, no disrespect to you. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. You can believe anything you want, but stop trying to pass it off as a science or something that has any real validity, because y'all, it don't. It don't. It really don't. Because you can look at the people. If you look at the people, that'll tell you everything. All y'all teachers are spiritual. All y'all teachers are spiritual. There's spiritual ideas, spiritual behavior, and things like that. And, you know, the spiritual thing, spirituality comes and goes. It's like that train that pulls into a station and pulls out of a station. That's your spirituality. And spiritual people are like the wind. They constantly moving in the wind. Their ideologies and terminologies and ways of thinking change all the time. And, you know, we're not about change. We about evolution. There's a difference between change and evolution. Evolution is a growth towards something greater. Change, with change, things could change 1 minute and change right back. When you are evolving, we are growing to a state where we're not going back. There's no go back. There's no backwards. There's just straightforward. With y'all is back and forth, like with the white and black thing. You see, that's why I said we stopped the whole black thing. I've been left that whole black mindset. I consider myself, and I've been told you, I consider myself a bright man, not a black man or a white man, but a bright man, because I let my intelligence lead me. I let my higher intelligence, my higher thought, which is predicated by the foundation in which I stand on, which is MENTELLECT, which is the foundation of extended thought, which is the extension of my ascendants, who are forward-thinking people, who I align myself with them. Like, for example, what we do know is that we have children, and they're going to have children, and they're going to have children. So we know our bloodline, our seed moves on. We know that our bloodline and seed is already living ahead of us, and we are truly moving into a extended time and space through our genetic material, through our children, through our grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, because that energy, that power, that soul force continues to move on. This is what we teach. So we are in alignment with that reality. That's reality. I'm not teaching something that could be debated. Reality is we're going to have children. Most of us are going to have children, and we're going to live through our children. So when I say my ascendants, setting the bar for my ascendants and moving forward, this is for them who are already living in the future, and we just moving in alignment with them toward the future. A lot of y'all, though, however, y'all not moving in the future. A lot of y'all just moving within time, but not in the future. You're moving in rotation of time. Another thing. All right. Is long hair and facial hair on males really a physical form of childish behavior? Yeah, it is. Let me tell you something. You know how many people I see, you notice I stay clean shaven. I got a haircut yesterday, got my hair cut, especially if I keep my hair cut and keep my face clean. I don't wear any facial hair. I mean, you talking to somebody who was years ago, like over 20 plus years ago, more than that. I was a Muslim. I was I was a Muslim and whatnot, and the Ansar Allah, Dr. York, and then we did the beards and the white robes. I was an Ansar. I did all that. Had a Muslim name. Did all of that. Had beard and everything. Had my hair. I had braids in my hair. Did the cornrows. Did it all. My hair grows long. My hair is natural. I got all my hair. I got my hairline and everything. At 52 years old, hairline. Got my hairline. I ain't got to spray in my damn hairline like certain people. You see. Who out here acting like they got a luscious hairline. I got a real luscious hairline. My hairline is real. I ain't got no black shit in my hair. But anyway, you know, shout out to you niggas that got black shit in your hair. But whatever. That's fine. But here's the thing. And the real deal of things, you know, me, the best thing I ever did was groom and cut that hair off my face and cut my hair down, because, you know, you let your hair grow and have people twisting in your hair and let hair grow over your face. You know, the most manly thing that any man or woman could do is groom themselves. And when I say groom yourselves, I mean to groom yourself as a man, whereas you ain't got to constantly keep going back, playing in your hair or sitting and having your hair twisted and braided or having your beard shaped up. That's too much, man. That's too much for a real man to do. Real men, we ain't got time for all that. Real men, we get a regular low haircut, however, we get our face clean and we keep it moving. We ain't got no fuss, no muss. You know, when you start bordering into playing in your hair and having women or whoever you got cornroll in your hair and playing with your beard and trimming your beard, that gets into primping. That gets into primping. I know because I used to do it. I had to keep my beard trimmed up when I had a beard back in the hair on my face, mustache and all that. I had to keep all that trimmed up. I had to keep my hair tight, the braids and whatnot. Next thing you know, I'm starting to look at myself. I'm getting cornrows. And I had the cornrows back in the D'Angelo era, 97, 98. That's when the whole thing was popular with the cornrows and whatnot. And I was like, man, after a certain point, I'm like, man, this is stupid, man. Then a lot of you guys now who kept up with the cornrows and the hair and all this other nonsense, a lot of your hair coming out, man. A lot of your hair coming out because of all that wear and tear and pulling on your hair. A lot of you guys got bald spots. A lot of your hairlines is pushed all the way to hell back to the middle of your head, you know, because you trying to hold on to that. Look at Stevie Wonder. For years, Stevie Wonder, he had to give up the ghost. For years, he was doing the braids and everything, kept pulling on his hair. Now that man hair was all the way back here. He was holding on to the last bit. He had his damn braids or whatever he was hanging off the back of his head, and it looked so sad. It looks so sad. I'm glad my hair got preserved and whatnot. Well, I don't have to do none of that nonsense, you know, or sewing some hair or sewing some. That to me, that's very effeminate. Like I said, real men, we get it cut and we keep it going, man. We keep our face clean. We got to worry about that. Women primp, men get their hair cut. We keep it moving. I seen a brother on my page. You know, he let his hair grow in his mustache and everything. But then I looked at another picture. He sent me a friend request. The brother was all clean cut. And the brother, and like I said, the brother, it looked good on him. He was clean cut. He was clean shaven and whatnot. It looked good on him. You know what I'm saying? Then he just like, the next thing, twists and hair, facial hair and all this other. Next thing you know, you niggas start putting, next thing y'all start putting damn coloring in your hair, all kind of other nonsense, and ribbons and bows and all kind of other nonsense. Come on, man. No, that's not manly at all. Very unmanly. Let me see. Make sure I'm covering all my topics, covering all my bases. All right. I might hear my daughter back there screaming and what. She always thought my daughter reaching those terrible twos. She coming into the terrible twos. You know where they always everything is a fit. Everything is all blown. She throwing temper tantrums till I show my face. Daddy coming and then see her and whatnot. I says the problem. Everything get quiet after that. But I'm on camera now, so I can't really go and discipline her now and whatnot. Her mother them be having a hard time with it sometimes, but she'll work it. So she a good girl. Anyway, are police departments ignoring Caucasian criminal behavior? I wanted to touch on this. Every time I turn on the Undisputed Truth and things like that, I'm hearing all this. It's a pattern of these police departments, which have a majority of Caucasians and Latinos in it, very small number of so-called black police officers, but even the black police officers go with this. A lot of them are ignoring these Caucasian criminals who are breaking the law, who are going out here doing everything from shooting at people and getting in fights or even killing people as far as that. A lot of them are, you know, they just ignoring the behavior of these people. And the only time they tend to arrest these people is because they just do something so over the top they got to arrest them. But you got plenty of people they letting just walk free, Caucasian people walk free out here committing crimes, to whereas a lot of these Caucasian criminals feel comfortable committing crimes and knowing they're not going to really get no real time and go to jail. You got a lot of these people out in certain areas like in Colorado, and they walk in, I had somebody tell me they'll walk in places like Home Depot and just steal stuff and walk right out with it and they won't say nothing about it. Now, if that was a so-called black person, they had the police, everybody, they have a SWAT team out there. But they basically let a lot of these Caucasians get away with everything, even up to murder. Why? Because their numbers are dwindling. And they really don't want to lock up these Caucasian people because their numbers are dwindling. They rather have a black prison population than a white one. In the beginning of this country, it was the prison population was white. It was overwhelmingly white. That's who was in jail, the Caucasians. Now, because this society, this government don't want to lock up white people, Caucasians, they giving them passes, like a lot of law enforcement letting them go when they do stuff, or when they do lock them up, they get a short period of time. They go up here and murder like 3 or 4 people and be home in 20 years. Whereas if it was a so-called black person, they ain't never coming home. And it's already been noted that the so-called justice system is slanted unfairly against so-called black people. So now what has to happen in order to make things, if you can, make things fair. I don't want to say equal, but make things fair. One of the things, and see again, our people are not up for correction. They'll just keep going along with the system and hoping to get better. There's a suggestion. Y'all need to stop being black immediately, because black people are targeted here in this country. Now, I know people say, how do you mean stop being black? Your skin is not black any goddamn way. Why are you still beholden to black? Don't you know the energy that is connected to blackness and people targeting blackness and how blackness is seen as bad, and y'all still sitting up here calling yourselves black people? This is so retarded. This is so mentally ill. And again, no disrespect to, mentally retarded people, but I'm gonna just say, black people, y'all sometimes y'all come off as mentally retarded. So-called black people, y'all come up. Why are y'all beholden to blackness? Why are you beholden to this lie that you came from Africa, that you have African ancestry, when it's clear that we are the American indigenous people, when we are those copper-colored people that are spoken of in the 1828 Merriam-Webster Dictionary? Why are you holding on to something that's not even real in order to be targeted by people? Because that's the only reason they gave us these titles of black and African American, so they can continue to target us as a people. You see, let it go. Let go of blackness. Let go of African Americanism, Negro, or whatever. Niggas, the foundational black American, just anything black. All that got to go, man. All the black stuff got to go. More, all that stuff got to go. All that's a bunch of 20th century stuff, man. We done moved on, man. We in the 21st century. So why the hell y'all still with this black nonsense? Nobody's skin is black. You are not beholden to the term black. Why do y'all believe that? I know that this society, I know the beast sits up here and he tries to program you to be black people, to push it into your head, to even use a bunch of black sellout turncoats to push you into being black people. But don't listen to them people. Leave them people by the wayside with their little 20th century black philosophies and ideologies. We don't need that. We beyond that. That's one of the things that's attracting that whole thing to, but again, this message only goes out to progressive and forward thinking people, the bright ones. I'm not trying to give no message to black people, because you got certain people who are just tragically black. Their minds is always going to be black. Everything is black this and black that. So I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people whose minds carry any semblance of brightness, intelligence, and whatnot, forward thinking, progressiveness. That's what I'm talking about. That's what my message is for. This is what High and Mighty Talks is for. It's not High and Mighty Thoughts, I should say, is for. I'm not trying to reach out to black people. I'm reaching out to bright ones amongst the so-called black race. That's what I'm reaching out to. My target audience is not black people, because black people want to be entertained with foolishness and folly. They want to sit up here and listen to people to call you black and, just basically tell y'all about reparations that they ain't trying to give you. You say trying to tell you or put you in direction to things that are just, useless to chase. Okay. I'm not saying reparations. Do I agree with reparations? Of course I agree with it. But, time will tell if that will really happen. So, right. A real reason why the beast doesn't want to admit his racist past. He doesn't want his racist past revealed. The reason why these people who refer themselves as white don't want their racist past revealed, like, for example, when you see this thing like critical race theory, this is basically where they don't want the history that they put out to the people about slavery and things like that. Now, this is funny. This is history that they put out to the people about slavery and racism and all people being brought over here in chains. Now they don't want that taught in school. Now my question is why? Why don't you want that taught in school if that's what really happened? Why are you trying to change the narrative? And this should let you know that these people who push this revised Caucasian version of history, that they are willing to lie about history. If you're willing to lie about history and change the facts of what took place in history, why should I trust anything you say? That's why I say y'all got to do the real research. Check out people like Dane Calloway. Check out people like Karina Ahawa who breaking down the whole thing about who we are as American indigenous people. You know, Sister Enron Vanzetta and a lot of other people that's coming up. All these facts coming out about our people being the American indigenous people or so-called Indians here, the American Indians here in this country. Check that out, how we owned all the property, the land and things like that before they even came over from Europe. Before Caucasians came into America, we had all the land here. Not the so-called Asian-looking Indians. They didn't even believe in owning land. They basically camped out in places. But you got to look all of that up and you got to want to know the truth. And again, what they told us was the truth. They already altering and changing that already. They telling you, oh, you know, critical race theory. We don't teach that to our children. We don't want to make our children feel bad. It's not about making the people feel bad. It's about the truth, if that's really what you say the truth is. But what they're showing you is they don't care about the truth, or the truth is whatever they say it is. That's why I said you got to take your children out of these schools, man. You show your disapproval for things by not engaging or participating in them. If they want to teach critical things that lies to your children, then you take your children out of these schools, man. Simple as that. Start educating your children yourself. All right. And also, another reason why they don't want to promote it, because they're trying to, this society is trying to go in the direction. I don't know if y'all notice, you pay attention, this society is going in the direction of race mixing, where they want to basically have black women with white males. They want black females and white males together. They don't want black males and black females or so-called black family together anymore, the bronze copper colored people. They don't want them together anymore. They don't want to see black families anymore. This society does not want to see black families. They're trying to do everything to work against it. That's why you got a lot of so-called black women who are being steered toward the abortion clinic, right? And they're being steered toward being with Caucasian males or Asian males to push this whole mixed race narrative going forward. So this is why you see shows, really why you see shows like, I'm gonna tell you an example of this, shows like The Cosby Show. Now they'll say Bill Cosby, they didn't want to show The Cosby Show anymore because of these allegations against Bill Cosby, the rape allegations and whatnot. But there's a guy Stephen Collins, I think his name is, who did the show Seven Heaven, I think it is. And this guy got allegations of child molestation, if I'm not mistaken, allegedly. I don't want to put myself in the illegal thing. But this guy who does, I think, the show Seven Heaven, he's got all kinds of credible allegations of pedophilia, and child molestation from what was being brought out. Yeah, his shows are still on the air. So is it really why the Cosby Show that went off, the reruns, and is it really about Bill Cosby, or is it really about erasing any semblance of a family, a black, so-called black family, a bronze, copper-colored family, a indigenous American family here? Because that's what the Cosby Show was. It's a show about indigenous American bronze people, not no black African American people. That's a show about indigenous bronze people. Because you can look at that Bill Cosby, you can see he's an American Indian. He's American Indian. He's American indigenous. You can look at Felicia Rashad and their children. They're American indigenous. These people are not African. They're American indigenous people. Indians, as the white man called them. With the feathers and all that come from us. From our Mayan ancestry, from our Aztec ancestry, from our Olmec, all that's our ancestry that people are trying to erase and trying to take credit for. Like how they do hip hop. So we got to keep it real 10 toes down. They want to erase the whole American indigenous family and want to reintroduce a mulatto mixed family with the black woman as the mother, the white male or the Asian male as the father, and the black male, you basically going to be either wiped away, locked up in jail, or they're going to turn you into a damn, trans blender. I said a blender. Yeah, I did. You know what I mean. That's what they want for this future society, the powers that be. They want that for this future society. That's why you don't see the Cosby Show no more. Ain't got nothing to do with no allegations of Bill Cosby. It ain't nothing to do with that. That's a lie. Hold on. Could the U.S. have survived without slavery? Could this country have survived without slavery? I know I heard people say this before, especially a lot of Caucasians. They say, oh, this country didn't need slavery. Then why did you keep people in slavery if this country didn't need slavery? This country could not have survived without slavery. It couldn't. Why? Because you needed the slaves, aka the indigenous American people, the real people who were the skilled labor, because you had indentured servants here. You had some Caucasian indentured servants. You had Asian indentured servants and slaves. But the best, which is why they never tell you about them, because they were the ones who did the manual labor, the people who did the real labor, the people who knew how to grow on the land, grow and harvest cotton, grow and harvest tobacco and foods and stuff like that, were so-called black people, the American indigenous people. That's why you only hear about their slavery. And then these Caucasians, they try to lessen their, importance of slavery. They try to reduce so-called black people into being cotton pickers. Notice that. Don't nobody think that's strange that you brought so-called, you supposedly brought millions of people over from a whole other continent into another continent that's not their own, according to you, just to pick cotton? Because you never hear about them saying black people did nothing else other than just pick cotton. That's what you did. You could have got all these Asians, white indentured servants to do that and live on your land and do that. And that way you didn't have to worry about beating nobody or doing none of this other stuff or any of that. No, it was more than that. It was about growing on the land. They were more than just picking cotton. They were harvesting the cotton. They knew how to grow it. They knew how to plant the seeds. They know what time to do all of that stuff, because we was already doing it before Caucasians got here. We already knew how to plant the land because we were indigenous to this land. We came here as the Mayans. We were the first civilization that came from South and Central America into North America and started planting the land here and growing cotton and harvesting food and coffee, all the stuff that the Caucasians deemed to be valuable, which made them rich based off what we did. That's why they wanted to enslave and keep our people on plantations to keep us working, because without us, there would have been no United States economy. Without so-called black slave labor, indigenous American slave labor, bronze copper colored slave labor, there'd be no United States, because they needed a cash. They needed, an economy. The economy was in the land. The resources that they could sell to Europe and other places, that's the economy. You see? And when Black Wall Street came about, that's why they never wanted black people to have land in this country, our people, because we originally had the land and we knew how to grow on the land, because when you got land, you make money from what the land yields. And we knew how to make the land yield all kinds of foods and raw material, cotton and things like tobacco. We know how to make the land yield that. The Caucasians didn't know how to do that. That's why they didn't want us to leave off the plantations. That's why they'd be ready to kill you if you left, because they said it themselves. Slavery is the lifeblood of the South. Slavery was the lifeblood of these Caucasians. They were like parasites for our people. They were parasites on us. They needed us to survive. But yet you're going to say you white supremacist. How you a supreme if you needed me to survive? If you couldn't survive on your own, if you didn't know how to grow on the land yourself. And you still got in a lot of those areas like in Mississippi and where white people like, they still don't know how to survive on their own. They were given all kinds of reparations through things like the Indian Removal Act. There's a lot of things they were given, where they were given land, thousands, millions of acres were given to Caucasians, just given to them, who was coming over from Europe. Land that was confiscated and taken from our people. You see, they don't want to talk about that, though. Y'all, hell, you pro-blacks don't want to talk about that. You ones that are on the payroll of these Caucasians, you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about some African nonsense, some African dream that we all came from Ghana. And that's another thing. You guys claim to be so pro-black and pro-African or whatever it is. But why I notice y'all never talk about all of Africa. You only talk about Egypt, which is not even in the part of Africa you claim we come from, West Africa, wherever. It's not even, you talk about the Middle East. You talk about Egypt. which ain't got nothing to do with Africa slavery. Then you talk about Ghana and Liberia. That's all I hear them talk about. They never talk about Northern. They don't talk about Uganda. They don't talk about Nairobi or Kenya. They only talk about those places because those are the safe places to talk about. And then the people that's talking on the Pan-African stuff, they ain't in America. Go figure. Right. Is a black people or black rep? Well, is black people getting reparations? Will it benefit them or other people? Will reparations for black people benefit them, or will it benefit Caucasians and other people? You already know the mass majority. If black people was to get reparations, so-called black people, I say so-called, the copper-colored people, the copper-colored races, if they were to get reparations today, you already know most of us are going to go back to the Caucasians and the Asians and everybody else. It's going to go to the Mercedes dealership. It's going to go to the Bentley dealership. It's going to go to the Louis Vuitton place. Hey, that's fine. People do whatever they want with their reparations, but please know, these people 9 times out of 10 ain't going to take it and pool that money together and start schools, go and start businesses, go and start corporations, going to pool their money and their resources. They're not going to do that. They're going to give it right back to the Caucasian. And giving reparations, and again, this is what makes me laugh. Listen to what these people are telling you. They'll say, these Caucasians will say, y'all don't deserve reparations for slavery, but immigrants, but people who had, you had Caucasians who were given reparations here in this country by having land taken away from our people, the Indian Removal Act, and giving millions of acres given to Caucasians for nothing. That's reparations for white people for nothing that even happened to them when they just came over from Europe. Not to mention, and the GI Bill after World War II, they were giving, all these Caucasian soldiers were given money to get homes and stuff and get themselves set up right, something that was denied from black soldiers. And there was something else they did for the Caucasians where they basically put them up on their feet. They put them up on their feet. This country put them up on their feet in a lot of areas and helped them produce generational wealth where they took from our people and denied our people, yet they wanted us to fight in wars in this country. Yet they deny us in this country and deny us tax money that we built, that we put here. We pay taxes in this country, and yet we're still denied services in this country. Why? Because we the indigenous people. That's why I keep telling y'all, if we were really African, we would not be denied any services or any civil rights in this country, because this country was set up for immigrants. They don't care about the indigenous people. This is why I tell y'all need to wake up, man. We come from America. We're not African. We are from here in America. And wherever you got colonizers at, they want to erase the original people. They want to erase the indigenous people, which is us. All right. But the funny thing is, they'll say black people don't deserve reparations for slavery and being worked to death and things. They'll say we don't deserve reparations, our people, for what our ancestors did. That's a spitting in our ancestors' face, because you're going to give illegals who came over here, you're basically giving them reparations for whatever went on in their country, wherever they fleeing from in Mexico and wherever they coming from these Central American and other countries, and these like Mexico and all these other places, these Latino countries, these, you're giving them shelter, you're giving them refuge here in this country. You're giving them refuge, and you're using our tax dollars to do it. But nobody's up in arms about that. The Caucasian so-called white supremacists, they're not up in arms about that. They're not up in arms about the millions of dollars that go to the so-called Native Americans, right? So-called Native Americans, millions of dollars that go to them every year, right? But that's reparations for them. Reparations for Latinos who coming over here, where they're being given hotels to stay in right here in New York City. They're being given hotels to stay in, right? Off of our tax money. They're being given hotels to stay in, and they're being given college tuition to go to school and whatnot off of my tax money. And I got children. But yet you can't get a goddamn thing. But we got to still pay taxes to that. Is that right? Is that right? But y'all want to sit up here and believe it's some black and brown coalition. Ain't no goddamn black and brown coalition. You can't even get a business loan to open up a business in your neighborhood, but yet Everybody else can. The Asians could get a business loan and open up businesses. You shouldn't even have to get no loan. You should be just giving money to open up businesses in your community. If you so-called black, if you are descendants of so-called slaves who are here in this country, you should be just giving money, like how they give the Native Americans money, like how they give how they gave the Asians money for being in internment camps for 4 years in this country. They gave them reparations. Everybody got reparations for being done wrong. So basically what's being said is, we don't care what happened to your people. We don't care if you was done wrong. Just eat it and then still pay tax behind. That's what they being told. You have to be very sick, demonic, off mentally to be that way toward people, because I'm opposed to any unfair treatment to anybody. I don't care what race you are, black, white, or anything. If your people worked and were not paid or were not compensated, were enslaved, were deprived things, and a society where they have to pay taxes and they contribute to this society, that's wrong. I don't care what color you are. Wrong is wrong. I don't care, black, white, whatever you want to call it. Wrong is wrong. And for people to stand up for that, you are sick. You're mentally deprived. Whether you white, if you against reparations, you're sick and mentally deprived, because it's not even coming out of your pocket, because it's coming from the government. But if you so hell bent on people not getting reparations, then you should be up there fighting to get up in the White House telling I don't want to give my Caucasian white money to illegals. You should be saying that about Native Americans and everybody else, where the tax money is going. But you ain't going to do that. You just seem to care about the whole black and white thing. You can't stand to see so-called black people get anything. And they do deserve it, but ahead of everybody. Because nobody slaved like our people. Nobody worked. Nobody was deprived like our people, so-called black people. And I'm saying so-called. I really mean the American indigenous people. Because they stuck it to us really good, the American indigenous people, the copper-colored races, to where we don't even know who the hell we are. Or y'all don't know who y'all are, but we informing our people. So, hold on, let me see. I think I'm on the last point, because I'm about to wrap this up. Let me see. Why would reparations for black, so-called black people, bring out hate and racism in this country? Why would that happen? It would happen because everybody has a gripe. I don't care who it is. Everybody in this country has a gripe with so-called black people. There's always been an anti-black. You see, and that's why I said we got to do away with the whole black thing, because the whole black thing is really a cover for the American indigenous people, the American Indian. They wiped out the American Indian and made them black people and replaced their history with these people who call themselves Native Americans, which is fairly a new term. But they would have a problem with it because, again, we are the standard of this country, whether it be music, whether it be style. So-called black people, the American indigenous people, the people who were here longest, going back to the Mayans, who were the first people to settle America, North America. This is why you find mounds and down all in the South. All the Mayan mounds are in the South, and Mississippi, all over Georgia. Mayan mounds are there. That's our people. That's our heritage right there. The American Indian heritage. Yeah, so when y'all say, oh, I got Indian in my family, when you so-called black people say, yo, I got Indian in my family, hello, we all do. Nobody's African. We all got American indigenous blood, which is so-called black blood. This has nothing to do with Mongoloid Indian. Those people who you see with the straight hair, those are Asians. Those are not Indians. Those are Asians across the Bering Strait. Those are people who also came over here as Asian slaves. The men came over here and mixed with the so-called black women, the real American Indian women. So the Indian or American Indian blood you're talking about is our blood, is so-called black blood. The O positive. You see, that's us. We the American Indian blood. So don't fall for this nonsense with people like Henry Louis, Skip Gates, and these clowns who trying to link us to Africa. These guys are a bunch of clowns, man. And they here to serve the beast. They a bunch of do-boys for these Caucasians who pushing white supremacy. And part of pushing white supremacy is erasing bronze indigenous heritage and culture here in this country. And we can't let that happen. Simple as that. But that's it. I think I touched on everything. We're going to be, again, Underlord Premium. This is one of the Underlord Premium hoodies. It's going to be like 120 on the site, 120 bucks. It's worth it. Good cotton, good material. We only do high-end stuff from the Underlord company. You see, the site is going to be revamped and whatnot. So there'll be links for this. You know, I'll say this because I model all my stuff, registered trademark to the Underlord company. Shout out to the Underlord company. And that's pretty much it. Tonight we're doing American Republic Radio. Check out American Republic Radio tonight. The call-in number, I don't have it in front of me, but the link should be down there, American Republic Radio. We're going to also be doing, on Blog Talk, we'll also check out Sister Enra Vanzetta's Ethnic American channel. Check out my MENTELLECT Patreon. Go hit the link below, my MENTELLECT Patreon. I'll give you the number to listen to American Republic Radio tonight. I want to give y'all the number. Give me a second, because we're about to get out of here. A second. The number is, the call-in number, we're going to start tonight at 10:30. The call-in number is, let me see. Guest calling 516-666-9211. 516-666-9211. So 10:30 tonight on AR Radio, you call in. And on the weekdays, it's MENTELLECT Radio. You can call in and listen, 646-200-4444. So that's it. And subscribe to MENTELLECT Patreon. We got new stuff coming up. $15 a month to hear the raw and uncut. You know the stuff I can't say on YouTube. Y'all know it's stuff I can't say on YouTube. Y'all know that. You know I get raw and uncut when they talk about our history, about the scam artists, about what's really going on, about, you know, who we are, the reptilian race, who the animal race is, who the reptilian race is. All that's up on MENTELLECT Patreon. Y'all done heard me putting up stuff for years. Even though my channel's got shadow bans on them, it is what it is. I don't care. It's going to get out regardless. Like I said, I'm not worried about being popular. I'm not worried about millions of views or hundreds of thousands of views. It is what it is. If it comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. I'm all right with that. So, all right. So, I think, that's it. All right. We're going to close out in the name of Amen, by the power of Amen. And Amen we trust. And Amen we thank. And in Amen we continue forward forever. I'm out.